which should be fairly non-controversial. And we have Alistair, of course, and we have Claire. So welcome. Yep, should go.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'll just be relatively brief by way of introduction. Just a reminder that the proposal in front of you is to transfer the assets owned by Panuku to Auckland Council. The rationale behind this proposal is that development agencies, traditionally, when they've finished their development work, the assets transfer back to the council. I guess the timing of this proposal has been driven by changes to the tax legislation, which we've discussed at some length previously. And as this proposal requires a change to the LTP, we had to consult on it publicly. A summary of the feedback has previously been workshopped with you, and there's a summary in the report in front of you. I think the key things to emphasise here is that staff have been undertaking a due diligence exercise alongside all of this. 3 points to note. The due diligence has sort of highlighted that the transaction is doable, which is always good. Secondly, that the IRD has provided us with a binding ruling which says that if we transfer the assets from Panuku to council prior to 30 June, there's no tax implications for council. So that can give you the confidence to make this decision without any tax implications. And the final thing turned up by the due diligence was some of the water space licenses in the viaduct marina. Now there's a plan in your agenda at page
142.
142. Now the issue there is that viaduct harbour holdings.
Alistair, could you just point out to them which are the items? Pretty hard to read the key there. It's the yellow bits and the blue bits.
The blue bits, as I understand it, are currently water space licenses, which, if this transfer happened, wouldn't be impacted. The yellow bits are water space licenses that, if they were transferred from Panuku to council, they would trigger a right of first refusal in favour of Viaduct Harbour Holdings Limited, which means we would have to offer those licenses to that group. Now, our advice is that rather than transfer those licenses back to council, we leave them with Panuku so that marina can be managed as a single operation. So out of the total value of assets held by Panuku of approximately $800 million, we're looking at about $2 million worth of assets there that we're proposing to leave with Panuku, which in the grand scheme of things isn't overly significant if something had to be done in the future. So the recommendation from staff is that all of the assets owned by Panuku be transferred back to council, except for those water space licenses in the viaduct there. We have a series of recommendations which contain delegations to Panuku. There have been some changes to those. I'm told that they're just to tidy up some of the legal arrangements. I do apologise for the length and complexity of the recommendations, but they've been drafted by a number of lawyers just to make sure that everything's tickety-boo. I think what I can tell you, the intent of those recommendations is to delegate everything to Panuku so that they can continue their day-to-day operations unaffected. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, Councillor Casey.
Alistair, near the end of your report, one of the risks is that the transfer requires the prior consent of third parties, including the Ports of Auckland, among others. Have those consents all been attained?
I'm looking to my legal colleagues in the background.
Corey's behind you.
Oh, and
Through the chair, there's a lot of third parties that we need consent from, Ports of Auckland being one, 3 ministry crowns, numerous counterparties to agreements. We started the process about a month ago of engaging with a lot of those parties, and the majority have been very positive. And we don't think it will hold up the process. Obviously, we've got a tight time frame.
Any other risks been identified during that process? Is everybody happy to give approval?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Any other risks that have been identified through that process? Is everybody happy to give their approval, or are there other issues arising?
The ones that we have heard back from, yes, they are happy. Some of them have asked for some additional confirmations on the transfer and how that's going to happen, and additional agreements to be assigned to council that are associated with the land or the assets. But no one has come back and said no.
How many approvals have you got, and how many have you still to get?
We don't have any approvals yet, because all the requests that we have put out have been on the basis that you have yet to determine what assets are to transfer. And once that determination has been made, we will be revisiting these third parties, confirming the relevant assets, and then finalising those approvals.
How many third parties are there?
I don't know. We've had to look at currently 864 items of assets and associated agreements and consents. So there's a few third parties, but the main ones are Crown Ministries, Ports of Auckland, actually Auckland Council Regulatory. The rest of them are tenants, lessees, third-party agreements, and most of them are just actually a notification rather than a consent.
Okay, well, I'm happy to move this. Are you indicating you'll second it, Councillor Walker? You're not?
Indicating a question, if that's possible.
Okay, all right.
Just when you're ready.
Yeah, Councillor Darby will second, that's fine. Councillor Walker.
So just have a question in terms of the feedback that was received. Were there options in the public feedback around alternative arrangements for Westhaven, and thinking particularly of the marina and so on the part of berth holders and the like?
Through the chair, the consultation document that went out did provide some alternative options. In terms of the response back, there were no feedback on those alternative options.
All right, well, I'm going to put the motion. There's no further questions or debate, so I will put the motions which range from, I can't see them all, but I'm assuming it's, there is no B. Is there a B? Why is there an A and no B? But anyway, that doesn't matter. We'll move all the recommendations as they are.
That's that B, 5B.
Oh, I think it's inverted. Okay, all right.
No.
Supposedly there is an A and a, yeah, okay. I'm just moving all the recommendations. All those in favour? Aye. Against? No one against, right. Thank you. Thank you, Alistair, Claire, Corey. We will now Andrew, welcome.